Financial freedom is something that we all want to achieve in life. It just seems that it is so far out of reach. A lot of people want to go from being poor to really rich in one step, but that's not always the best idea. It's actually the reason why 70% of lottery winners go broke within the first 3 years of their big winnings. There are some certain financial education lessons you should learn along the way before becoming really rich. Because one of the most important laws of wealth is that it is not how much money you make, it's how much money you're able to keep. So in this video, we're gonna climb up the financial freedom ladder together, and I'm gonna share with you these 6 different levels of financial freedom. Let's start with the first level of financial freedom, which is financial solvency. So we're gonna start at the bottom here. It is debt divided by living expenses equals your income. So if you have enough money to pay for your bills, pay for your rent, mortgage, utilities, food, and all that, but not much left over or almost nothing left over, then you are starting at level 1 of your financial freedom journey. And by the way, this has nothing to do with how much money you're making. You can make $100, $300, $1 million a year, and if you have no money left over by the end of that, and it's all going towards living expenses, then you are still at level 1 of financial freedom. And the second level of financial freedom is financial stability. What this means is that your living expenses equals your income, plus you have an emergency fund. An emergency fund is basically a certain amount of money that will cover 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So if your income completely dries up, there's a disaster, something happens, at least you have this emergency fund to cover your living expenses until you're able to get more income. By the way, I'm David, and if you want to learn wise money tips to build a wealthy future, hit the subscribe button down below. This way you could learn how to make money, manage money, and invest money. And level number 3 is debt freedom. At this point, you have all of your debt paid off, excluding your mortgage, plus you are starting to invest. So at this point, you have all of your credit card debt paid off, student loans paid off, every debt is paid off, and the only thing you have left is your mortgage, and now you are starting to invest in your future by making investments with any income that you have left over. And if you want to see all 6 levels of financial freedom that I'm talking about in this video all in one spot, if you click the link down below, I have an Instagram post that condenses all this information into one post. I recommend clicking that. Also, follow me on Instagram if you want to learn some more financial education lessons that are really easy to understand in one post format. Level number 4 is financial security. This is when your investment cash flow equals your survival expenses. So your investment cash flow is however much money you're making off of your investment. So this could be from real estate, if you're renting out any properties and you're getting that cash flow of rental income, or from the stock market, or whatever your investments are, that money that's going into your bank account, if that equals your monthly survival expenses, which would be your mortgage, rent, utilities, food, whatever you need just to survive, not living expenses, but just to survive, that is when you achieve financial security. At this point, if you have a job, you still want to keep your job for income, because at this point, just your investment cash flow is covering your survival expenses. You still need more income to cover your living expenses. Level number 5 is financial independence. This is when your investment cash flow equals your living expenses. So living expenses is in addition to whatever your survival expenses are. So anytime you spend money for entertainment, shopping, going to restaurants, that would be considered part of your living expenses. And then whenever your cash flow from whatever investments you have equals that, then you're in a really good spot, because then you may not even have to work a job anymore. If your investment cash flow is covering all of your living expenses, if you do work a job and you're getting extra income, then that extra income would continually go into your investments so that it can create more investment cash flow to cover your living expenses. And basically, this is how the rich keep getting richer and almost never lose any money. As long as they don't touch the principal that is producing that investment cash flow every single month, then they're going to continually pay for their living expenses. The only problem here is if their living expenses goes up and then they don't have enough cash flow to cover it. So up until that point, you can work a job, but you don't have to. You can completely quit your job and have your investment cash flow cover your living expenses, assuming your living expenses don't become extravagant. We're not at the Ferrari, Lamborghini stage yet. And at level 5, there's also something called the 4% rule. This is when you have 25 times your annual expenses all saved in an account, and every year it's going to yield you 4% without ever having to touch that amount of money. So just to keep numbers simple, let's just say you have $1 million saved up in an account, which, whatever your math is, let's just say that's 25 times your living expenses. Every single year, 4% of $1 million is going to yield you $40,000 every year without having to touch the principal, without having to work or anything. And the way to accomplish this 4% rule, it's mainly done through investments in the stock market. Very safe investments like ETFs, index funds, mutual funds, which may not have explosive growth, but they have a slow upward trend. Every year, if you're just taking out the winnings, the earnings from that portfolio of whatever money you're earning, and you don't touch the principal, that's how you can make a consistent 4% every year. Then level number 6 is financial abundance. This is when your investment cash flow equals whatever you want to buy. This is when you are at that point in your life when you are really rich. Anything you want, you could buy. It's not going to make a dent in any of your cash flow that you're getting, assuming you're not like Mike Tyson and you spend $360 million in a year. Even at the stage of financial abundance, people can still go broke at this point. If living expenses are extremely high and it's more, they are getting close to that investment cash flow, that's when people get in trouble, because if there's ever a dip in the market or any of those investment cash flow producers dry up, that's when people get screwed, because their living expenses or their cost of living or the lavish lifestyle is so high. And that's why we hear a lot of celebrities who go broke, a lot of athletes who go broke, who have millions of dollars in the bank, but then somehow they're filing for bankruptcy a few years later. It's because they are living way beyond their means, and they don't even have to do that. It's basically, they're following probably one of my favorite quotes. They are spending money that they don't have to buy things that they don't need to impress people who don't care. So if you do get to that level of financial abundance, you always still want to be careful about your cost of living. And one of the ways to get to the 6th level of financial freedom, which is financial abundance, is to create multiple streams of passive income. Passive income is when you are making money basically while you sleep, while you're at the beach, while you're doing anything. You don't have to be there in order for that money to come into your bank account. If you want to learn how to make passive income, you could click this video over here. I go over 5 different ways of how to make passive income up to $5,000 per month, and I actually give some personal examples of how I was able to make passive income as well. Click that video and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.